Welcome back to Open Window Politics. Today we're going to be going through my latest prediction for the 2024 presidential election. It is coming up real quick. The election day is next Tuesday, so we won't have too many predictions before then, but this is the latest. So we will start out with the state of Nevada and then just move eastward. So in Nevada, it is a close race, and currently Trump is ahead in the 538 poll aggregator, at least last I checked. And let's go ahead and take a look at the early and mail-in voter ballots so far in Nevada. So currently Republicans, and this isn't perfect data for one, a lot of Republicans, well, not a lot, but some Democrats vote Republican, some Republicans vote Democrat, and the other party is a little bit more tricky to pin down of who they voted for. But regardless, this is the setup here. So there are generally more Republicans that have voted early, and the majority, I believe it's a good mix of mail-in and in-person ballots. And it is, Trump is narrowly ahead on the 538 poll aggregator, so I'm going to add a tilt characterization to give it a little bit more nuance. Here we go. All right, so we'll do that. And then I will give the state of Nevada to the Trump campaign. Then next up, let's go to the early voting results in Arizona. In Arizona, things are also looking pretty good for the Trump campaign. It has a good amount of mail-in ballots that are favoring Republicans. Well, again, we'll have to see what that other category is doing or is voting. But for now, it does look like Republicans are doing fairly well. This could very well change, but for now, I'm going to give it as a tilt red rating. Then we get to we'll go to the state of Wisconsin. Up here, go backwards there. In Wisconsin, things are looking better for the Democrats in terms of early and mail-in voting. I believe we'll see which part of this is which way is voting. So it's also another good mix of mail-in and early voting. But this is favoring the Democrats. They're 35% to 24%. And this isn't perfect data, I recognize that, but it is a decent aggregator to give us a prediction of who we think will win the state. So in the state of Wisconsin, I will give that as a tilt blue rating. And the polls were off by a good margin in 2020 and in 2016 for the state of Wisconsin. They underestimated Republican support. So I do think there's definitely a possibility that Wisconsin could flip. But there's also a possibility that Nevada could flip. I think that, but if I had to predict it, I would probably go with these two decisions at the latest. And then we'll get to the state of Michigan. In Michigan, we'll double check what's going on there with the early vote. But it has been looking pretty good for the Democrats. We'll double check here, but it is narrowing up a bit. It used to be more of a Democratic lean, but most of these are mail-in ballots, which favored the Democrats. They're still ahead by a pretty decent margin, possibly not enough for it to be able to make up the difference from election day votes and other votes that generally will favor Republicans. But for now, it does have the Democrats nearly ahead in the state. So again, I think it'll be close. I think all these states will be. So we're going to give that as a tilt blue rating. And then next up, we get to the state of Georgia. Georgia is looking really good for the Trump campaign. Even in the early vote has seen record numbers. It has been one of the more impressive states to watch in terms of early voting. There have been quite a few ballots cast and mail-in votes cast. There have been about 3.5 million. And there's been primarily of in-person early voting, but there's been a couple of mail-in ballots, about 340,000. And those have favored the Democrats, but by and large, including the in-person early voting, it is narrowly favoring the Republicans. I think that is a reasonable prediction. We will give the state of Georgia to the Republican campaign, and then we will now go to the state of, let's go to North Carolina to see what the early voting there is telling us. It's probably going to be close. We'll double check though. So in North Carolina, there is a narrow Republican edge in terms of ballots cast. Again, we don't know how any of these people actually voted. This is just by party registration. It could be off. It is just an okay indicator. Plus, we don't know for the other party, the independents and others, that we don't know exactly how they voted. So that is kind of the wild card. But for now, it does look like Republicans have an edge, and I do think that is reasonable to expect. Trump was able to win the state of North Carolina by a pretty good margin, well, by a decent margin, in 2016 and in 2020, so it will most likely remain in the Republican column. Next up, we get to the state of Pennsylvania. This state is really going to be the one that determines it all. Most likely, each candidate has a much better chance of winning should they be able to win the state of Pennsylvania. And I think that this has a legitimate possibility to change as we get votes from each type of voting, from in-person election day votes, which will generally favor Republicans. Currently, Democrats are favored. It's been all mail-in ballots. There have been about 1.6 million of them have been returned, so pretty okay rate. There's still quite a few of them left, so if Democrats want to win the state, they'll have to keep turning in these mail-in ballots to be able to build up that kind of firewall against the in-person on election day votes, which will most likely favor Trump. And but with that the early vote does show that the Democrats are, the Harris campaign is narrowly ahead in the state of Pennsylvania. So this is just kind of according to the early vote totals. This is most likely going to change. This won't likely be my final prediction, but there are maybe some similarities. I think most of the states will remain in this way, but I do think that we could see I think Pennsylvania is definitely in play. I think it has a decent chance, probably about I think 538 has like a 52% chance of Pennsylvania going to the Republican by a narrow margin to the Trump campaign. And with that would be enough to win enough electoral college votes to flip the presidency, even if Harris were to win the previously Democrat state of Nevada. And even if she won Arizona, it would still be 270 electoral college votes for the Trump campaign. So the Pennsylvania, Georgia, North Carolina route is probably Trump's best path to the White House. Well, for Harris, it is most likely going to be the blue wall. Harris can afford to lose Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, but she needs to win the 19 electoral college votes in Pennsylvania, and that will be just barely enough electoral college votes plus the one in Nebraska's district to be able to win the presidency. But regardless, this is going to be close. I think it'll be interesting to watch, but feel free to let me know if you have any questions about some of the early vote totals, maps that we've seen, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks. Bye.